I was hoping for a banger, but regardless, you know, we've seen those bans come out, a lot of those strong aggressive bot lanes combined with some signature picks that we know these players like to lean on. And now IG, typically something like the Wukong you could be expected to take this early in the draft. Wukong, Poppy, Taliyah, all very high priority, but we'll see what they end up going towards. And yeah, Wukong for sure, I think he's had some fantastic performances on the champion. See, it feels like a little bit of a no-brainer. My question is, do LGD go something like Poppy Taliyah on this rotation?
Yeah, they might go for the Poppy. They might go for, you know, as I say, the mid laner. But no, they want to go for the Vi. And the Vi has been more of a mainstay as of late. It did feel like for a while it was just Wei playing it pretty much exclusively in RNG. Kanavi played it for a little bit as well. But everyone seems to be picking this new champion up and kind of saying, you know, this is the hard engage we need. And it definitely does feel like it's that kind of champion that in the right situation looks amazing, but if you mess up the combination can look absolutely useless.
Yeah, Arcane Season 2 fans is all I'm going to say. Yeah. But that point and click lockdown, very effective, kind of similar to Nautilus in some regards. What I do like with the Vi is something like an Ahri, something that can keep pace, because often we see Vi Ahri as a really strong combo. Vi locks them down and Ahri can always be there to follow up with the charm, which is why IG taking away the Ahri I actually think makes a lot of sense. They go for the Gwen in the top lane, and now here's a little bit of difficulty for LGD. So they pick the LeBlanc, good matchup to the Ahri, something mobile that can follow up on the Vi. That's all great, but they can't answer the Gwen. So now we go to the second round of bans. LGD probably looking towards AD carries to really trim the pool. And IG, I would just be banning top laners at this point. You've already got the Jax and the Fiora off the cards, which are both picks you can take into the Gwen, but you can really further trim that pool. Maybe you do throw a ban towards the support if there's something you're concerned about. Maybe a Nautilus could be problematic. Nautilus Vi seems like very anti-fun.
Yeah, definitely anti-fun is definitely the way I would put it right now. We see the next few bans coming in. Honestly, just banning with the AD carry pool right now, you already have the Kalista, the Zeri, the Draven, the Sivir now being banned away. I wouldn't even be surprised to see maybe even a Jinx ban taken away from On. Just take those very safe picks off the board, force them onto something like maybe an Ezreal that has got a little bit less of an early spike. But no, they actually want to get rid of some engage options that can combo in with the Wukong.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Rakan is a bit of an interesting one. Maybe the situation is LGD are planning to take the top lane on 4 because they already know the top lane matchup, and then they want to counter pick support, and maybe they're concerned about Rakan being, you know, relatively safe as a blind into what they plan to pick. So I guess that could make some sense in some regard. IG banned the Renata as well, which is a strong combo with the Aphelios, but no top lane bans, so clearly very confident in the Gwen. And we do see the Gnar taken up now. Obviously, this is the nerfed Gnar, a bit lower base health, but still a pretty frustrating lane for the Gwen playing to. Very easy to get kited and just poked out. Now, Lucian Nami is still available. That's something they could go towards. They could pick a Senna lane. They could do a lot of things here for IG. They still have options.
Still plenty to go for there. They might still opt in towards the Xayah, which when these AD carries have all been kind of banned away, has been something that we've seen a lot of people move towards, but still waiting to see what the final lock-in will be. And ooh, okay, Miss Fortune going to be locked in, so a little bit of wombo combo coming in, but I will say now that with the amount of people that can jump on top of your face, your positioning on this Miss Fortune is going to have to be key if you want to get a good bubble time off.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good lane matchup into Aphelios. I think that's the main thing, but I think it's not going to be the best in terms of the being able to channel the ult. Now, because Rakan was banned away, Leona ends up being picked up. They obviously want some engage, but I feel like for LGD, you could take something like the Braum here and just have a really solid matchup into the Leona. Pretty good with Aphelios. You can stack up a passive quite quickly, but it looks like they may not go in that direction. We'll see what they want to opt for. Alistar seems to be on the cards at the moment, and it's something that can be pretty effective against the Leona, right? If Leona goes in, you can either knock her up straight away, you can knock the AD carry away, and then Q Leona. There's a lot you can do against a champion who wants to get up close and personal.
All right, so you got yourself some decent engage, and it looks like we're going to be having some pretty decent front-to-back team fighting coming out here from IG. They want to go in with the Leona and the Wukong, try and get the Gwen onto that backside with just the Miss Fortune and kind of, putting out the DPS from the side. And, of course, Maul and this Ahri looking exceptional can make some decent work on the side lanes, or, on the back line if you can get there. But for LGD, they're kind of tit for tat. Both teams kind of looking to try and just move forward and go for 5v5s.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a strength in a lot of areas. I think the main thing I'm looking at is the mid jungle, because I feel like both side lanes, if Gnar isn't able to shut down Gwen can really take over. If Miss Fortune isn't able to shut down Aphelios can become problematic later on, especially against the dive threats that are available for IG. So I want to see how this mid jungle performs. I feel like we've seen the Ahri LeBlanc go up against each other a lot of times. Ahri has been nerfed a few times since we originally saw this matchup, and LeBlanc has recently been buffed. But we did see it as a skill matchup. I remember Scout playing both sides of the matchup in spring and winning both sides. And also the Wukong into the Vi. I feel like Vi can be really powerful if you get the jump on the other person and you hit them with your Vault Breaker. But if they manage to get on top of you, I think Wukong can really dismember you. So mid jungle, that is the focus for me. Get the lead there and expand it to the side lanes and see if you can find pressure, find some momentum and snowball them.
We'll have to wait and see as both teams are locked and loaded. Is the final match for IG. LGD, I think, still have one more to go, if my maths is correct. Of course, my maths could be completely wrong, but we'll have to wait and see how they're able to kind of go for. This will be their last real test in terms of people around their standings. They play RNG later on this week. I believe that's on Sunday as a final game of the split. But no more hypothesizing, no more theorizing. We are jumping onto the Rift to see how both these teams end up going, and I want to see early shenanigans. We are seeing a little bit of shenanigans, but it's just to get a ward down, just some vision.
Getting some information, trying to get a little bit of tracking on where the Vi is going to start. And I feel like that information could be so important because, as I said, getting a jump in this matchup can be really important. There's a lot of gank pressure afforded to the Vi as well. I feel like, honestly, if Zika ends up overextending, if Arn, who I expect to have priority in the lane, ends up overextending, you can catch them out. And, you know, this MF is something that I mean, we haven't seen it much, and I'm not sure if this is the place I'd expect to see it. But we did see, like, sustain and lane be nerfed, right? Hell potions were trimmed down. Scorch was buffed. Second wind was nerfed as well. JinJiao actually going for bone plating, which isn't really going to do much against the MF here, because this is going to be one of those lanes where you spam E, you proc Comet, you proc Scorch, and you just do so much damage to them. And it's impossible to dodge. How can you dodge to make it rain from Miss Fortune?
Yeah, it's such an obnoxious ability as well, because it just pops down and it doesn't do a huge amount of damage, like not enough for you to maybe be taking like chunks off you every single time, but little by little it chips down on you, and like you said, it just becomes absolutely abhorrent to really deal with. As we can see, Zika taking Fearness to a little bit of a trade on the top side, pretty equal though on both sides. You do have the fleet footwork here for the Gnar, so going to be able to sustain up rather nicely. And we'll wait and see where both these sides want to go for. Both junglers starting on their blue buff. We're going to be pathing on opposite sides. So we're going to see the Vi maybe towards that top side. And, of course, the Wukong with Shun maybe looking for the bot lane. And I will say the one thing you do have with the Leona in the bot side is you have got a good, setup if you do end up kind of pushing them a little bit under tower. Maybe not going for a full dive, but definitely options available to you.
Oh, my God. Look at Assum already just being chunked out. And it's not even just, I said the comment the Scorch, there's also cheap shot available, which obviously does proc on it. And, as you're saying, low damage ability, but because you proc 3 runes, that is really doing the damage there. And I feel like this bot lane is going to have a rough time. Alistar already has a very weak level 1, isn't really a factor to level 2, and kind of wants to wait till level 3 before it can really start to engage. But by that point, if your AD carry is already burned through all his potions at his low HP, how are you supposed to fight?
Yeah, it feels bad. It definitely feels bad. It also feels like you have to, in this particular matchup, you can't really be relying on the Doran's Blade. You have to go for those 3 pot starts, just like you say, for the pure sustain. You do have a little bit of healing, of course, with the Alistar passive, which isn't exactly the most ideal. It's not exactly a Nami or a Yumi level of healing, but this is a massive wave coming into Zika right now, as Fearness is just abusing the fact that he has got the mini and he has got the range advantage.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a painful lane for Gwen. I remember we saw Gnar a lot as the answer to Gwen in spring, but I actually saw a lot of Gwens like winning out the lane, able to trade, go for those short bursty trades with the E into Q. The problem is now the auto reset is so low early, like it's 25% when you have 1 point in your E, that if you E in and Q Gnar, you're walking out. You don't get your E isn't up soon enough that you can just like E out again. And so Gnar can go pretty heavy on trades. Wink?
What is Wink doing? He's going to have to flash away as he went very far forward. As he has a trade of summoners up realistically. But that was aggressive to say the least. Now Assum thinking that there's no Wink here. On has to be a little bit more respectful. He's going to be taking a little bit more damage than he probably wants to.
Yeah, this is one of the things with Alistar is that it's very hard to pressure him on a tower as a melee champion, because anytime you go for the engage, you're going to be close enough to just get knocked into the tower. JinJiao does go for the flash Q to try and keep Wink there. And obviously Wink does just flash away. It's actually a positive trade for IG in terms of sums, but definitely a bit of a volatile position to put yourself in.
For sure. Speaking of volatile positions, the mid-jungle synergy we were talking about, Shun and Mole making sure that Haichao respects the Ahri Wukong combination as he gets chunked out.
Yeah, and it was a good charm. I mean, one of the things is you can interrupt the distortion from the LeBlanc. So not only do you catch out the LeBlanc with that CC, you can lay some damage down, but you actually interrupt the distortion damage. And it obviously lets you avoid a big part of LeBlanc's combo, because that is going to be the ability she's maxing first for wave clear. Now, JinJiao actually stopping the reset from Arn and Wink. And Arn's very low on mana, even with the tier, so they might go for something.
Yeah, you can see them maybe looking to try and catch out Wink here, but not quite in a position to fully capitalize. You can see how low Assum is. One make it range just kind of puts him into such a terrible position. But decent ward coverage on the blue side of the jungle for IG meant that they knew that Quay was coming down, so the Vi will not be able to get any kind of real engage. And yeah, just able to kind of reset this one out. Alistar will get his full reset off, and IG, they might actually think to kind of maybe keep this wave here and just deny a couple of minions here from LGD.
Yeah, I think this should end up pushing out just with the position of the wave. There wasn't actually that many minions. There was like 3 casts. I think there was a couple of small minions that ended up getting trimmed out. So I think they should just push out. LGD will be fine. And the fact they got out for good reset timing is really important. Interestingly, Assum only taking the 1 health potion. So... a little bit ambitious in my regard. I feel like, honestly, I would be taking refillable if I was in this lane, but does end up going for the Berserker Greaves. One thing is you can obviously run out of the make it rain sooner, but really it's that initial damage with the runes that is the problem. But now both supports have come back off resets, and they're looking to try and posture around the mid lane. Once again, Shun is here. We showed you these stats before the series. The mid jungle proximity for IG, highest in the league. And we are seeing nothing different in this game.
No, we are absolutely not. I will say JinJiao doing his best wayward impression there with the crying and Mumu. Making sure that they know that he knows and he knows that they know. So both teams just happy to kind of let this one go for the moment. Fearness does have his Mega, but is getting chunked out quite significantly here by Zika. And this is where the matchup gets a little bit more tentative. When you get those Aeonian Boots of Lucidity, you get the extra little bit of cooldown reduction, and you get the ultimate available to you. That's where the game can get a little bit worrisome. As we can see now, both junglers going to be going head-to-head. The Mike comes in for Shun. As you can see, Mole now saying, hey, buddy, I'm going to be able to help you. And Shun's like, no, don't worry about it. I got this.
Oh.
Never mind. Mole still needs to give the assist. And that is just over-aggression from the LGD jungler.
And it's what you expect, right? The second one of them is there, never one without the other. Shun starts to get into this fight. Mole moves over immediately, and they're able to secure that first blood onto the Wukong as well. Jungle for IG gets protected, and now the full bot lane actually made a move up towards the mid lane to cover that wave. So now have to walk back down, but they won't actually miss too many minions here. I would have just taken the Blast Cone, honestly, but they just decided to walk on in.
Yeah, they're going to walk on in and be a little bit annoying. Ooh, nice little interaction there to jump straight in onto JinJiao, who does not have his unbreakable will, so he shall be broken. And, yeah.
I guess that's why you just walk straight in, because...
that's why you don't need the blast code.
I'm not sure what the game plan was. I mean, that's the thing with the Zenith Blade, is like, even if you knock Leona away, she travels to the end of it, so still able to connect. And you're level 5 in the Alistar. Assum wasn't there. I think it was one of those things where you're like, oh, I can stop them. It's like when people try and stop recalls. Like, I can stop them from getting to the tower. I can let Assum get a plate. I can deny them. And then it's like, well, you just die for it. So, not the ideal play. And IG, they will waste no time in moving up to this top side and just securing this Herald. No contest coming out either. So, yeah, they lose some plates to the bot side, but the kill for On will mitigate that. And with the Herald in pocket, it feels like IG are comfortable across the map.
Yeah, Herald, 2 kills. Got himself about a 1,500 gold lead. Yes, Assum's getting some nice alone time here in the bot side. You really do need to get JinJiao up to his level 6, though, in my opinion. But it has not been an exceptional start from LGD. They should be able to secure themselves this dragon. It's a nice solo Drake as well. They get themselves the Hex Tech Dragon, which is probably, in my opinion, probably the strongest of the solo Drakes to get. And that does give level 6 over to Quay as well. So he's going to have his cease and desist available to maybe try and combo up with Haichao, maybe look to try and go in with Fearness. A couple of different options available to him.
Yeah, one of the interesting things with the Hextech Dragon is its flat stats, right? Because Infernal and Mountain are percentage. They are better later in the game the more of those stats you get. But with the Hextech Dragon, like, we actually know the gold value because it's flat stats. And across the whole team, it's 2,325 gold. It's a lot. And obviously, this varies from person to person because I don't think LeBlanc is that fond of the attack speed. But for champions who enjoy both the stats, Gnar is a great example. Loves attack speed, loves ability haste. He's getting huge value out of that early dragon, which does help to at least mitigate a bit the lead that IG has. And, you know, a positive pickup for LGD, especially when you feel like the game is maybe slipping away a little bit with the fact IG have a lead and still have that herald. Getting an early dragon just means at least at bare minimum, you buy yourself some more time before soul. But for now, I'm focused on Shun and where he's going to try and make a play with this herald. I feel like bot lane, you're always going to have the wave pushed up to the tower, so it'd be pretty easy to just slam it down. But also, we see a lot of heralds go down mid just to soften up that tower so they can take it down later on.
Yeah, you soften it up for the second charge, or sorry, the second herald that can charge into it. So
the big herald.
The big boy, chonky boy. Or chunky girl, because actually heralds are canonically females. So
I wish they made the second herald like bigger. Like I feel like, you know, they upped the HP
like
value.
Physically bigger. Yeah.
I wish it was just like, oh, you know, they just changed how it look or something, just
like
to really,
Cho'Gath.
just emphasize the fact that this is the big herald, you know.
From Herald to Lechungus, like just an absolutely massive unit. But trying to think of like different like ways you could name it and stuff like that, like a different name for second herald, you know. Well, because like I feel like even if you, because that's the thing, really, isn't it? It's like there's first herald and then obviously the second herald. But if you don't take first herald until like 16 minutes into the game for whatever reason, it's still first herald. It's not second, you know. I feel like we should have some kind of differentiation between the two. As we can see, Zika, he went over the wall, aggressively to get that ward. I don't know if he's going to be able to kind of survive this one. He's a little bit immune, but I'm going to see Fearness flashing in and getting the Gnar against the wall. Zika, I don't know what it is, but that wasn't it.
Just disrespectful, and this is one of the things with the E cooldown a bit longer early, with the fact that a Gnar has the ability to chase you down. And especially when Mega was primed to go and Finn, oh my god, he even gets the execute as well. Such a good read. Doesn't allow Shun to pick up the trade kill, and that massive wave denied. Zuka is going to be able to TP in and grab some of it. But yeah, just a fantastic play from Fearness, and honestly a bit disrespectful from Zuka here.
Yeah, a little bit. We've seen how JinJiao getting caught out a little bit, but maybe he's the one who's going to go, ooh, that's unfortunate. Ooh, that's not great. They waste a hell of a lot of ultimates, and now they are not winning this trade right now. That is a comedy of errors coming out from the LGD jungler.
Yeah, and you see pings coming out mid from IG. They see the LeBlanc has gone down. This is a perfect window just to slam that herald. Divine Sunder on the Wukong as well. Should be able to get this tower down to one play. I'm not sure if they'll actually maybe even be able to finish, but I think with Haichao here trying to stop him from defending the tower, it's so low. They could maybe just pick it up, but I think they put air on the side of caution and will just back away. But regardless, so much damage done to that tower. That was a great opportunity for the herald, and it came off the back of just a, we'll call it a play from LGD, but it was not a good one.
Well, that's the thing. Objectively, it doesn't have to be if you're just calling it a play, you know.
Yeah, it was an attempt, and clearly some wires crossed there, and LGD just weren't able to find what they wanted.
Yeah, it is. It was definitely a little bit of scuff right there. You can do a lot with the Q flash on the bot side. It can work very, very well. But let's have a look at this top lane. It's just going to be Fearness running him down, really. It's funny. We saw this from, I believe it was yesterday in Pro Views where they were looking at the Gnar. And it's just like, yeah, like Gnar throws boomerang, he catches it. He throws some more smaller boomerangs and then goes again. Like, that's just kind of what he does.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, just the fact he gets that movement speed also has the... forgotten the name of the item. Is it Hearthbound Axe? It gives you movement speed when you auto. Like, this is one of the problems with Gnar. If you can't fight him, he will just run you down in mini, proc Mega, slam you into a wall and kill you. And because he gets that movement speed himself, because he's also able to connect the boomerang and slow you, it's so annoying. And the solution is, if you're playing a champion who can jump on him and just beat him up, then you're fine. You know, things like Jax are very effective at that, but Gwen in the current form, you kind of just need time. You need time before you become more of a relevant threat. And sure, this Gwen is undoubtedly going to be a problem for LGD in the late game, but it is not there yet.
No, not quite there yet, but still, we're 14 or just over 14 minutes into the game, and it's still roughly 1500,000, Jesus, 1500 gold lead as Haichao and Mole go head to head. Mole just popped down the ignite, but he had Summoner Spellbook, so he's just using that ignite to get himself back onto a flash as the dragon has now spawned. So we might see the Haichao! That's not what you want to be seeing. Shun thought about flashing in there onto Fearness and a JinJiao, but he's just about to go Mega, so good holding on the trigger finger as we do get the dragon being secured by LGD, but they don't care on the side of IG. They want the fight. The charm comes out as Fearness goes very, very low. They're trying to make this one work with the bullet time. There's going to be the Moonlight Vigil to make this one work on top of Shun, but he survives, and Quay goes down. Now you're trying to jump onto Assum, who's trying to carry this fight. He almost does it, but at the end of it all, it's still Mole as you get yourself 2 kills onto On.
And LGD, sure, they get the dragon, but they get decimated in the fight. And bear in mind, Gwen wasn't even there. Zuka's just taking a tower in the top lane. He is vibing. And Mole, I haven't seen him miss a charm yet. I'm certain, right? He probably has at some point in this game. We don't obviously focus only on mid lane. But in this fight, so first off, Haichao's already chunked out for the time he got charmed before. And here, I feel like Haichao's just playing disrespectfully, not snapping back with the distortion. Ends up getting charmed there, but then in the follow-up that comes in, right, they start off with an engage where Fearness has a Mega Gnar to respond. Another charm hits on the Mega Gnar as he's trying to walk away, and then obviously we see the return of all of LGD. Mole goes in very aggressive, and no, he loses his ult. He has no more ult stacks, so he goes for burst onto the Vi here, gets the extra stack, repositions, and then even interrupts JinJiao again with the charm. Everyone is connecting. It's just insane.
Really well played. Now you're on a 2-item spike for this Miss Fortune. Unable to go back, has his Eclipse and his Murma or Mana Mune turning into a Mana very, very soon. So this is a massive spike in gold and power for the side of IG. And you can see them now taking that second Herald, a lot more gold going over to them. The gold lead's ballooned to 4,000. Yes, you have 2 dragons here on the side of LGD, but you're behind. And if you can get stacking dragons, stacking mountain dragons for IG, this becomes so much harder for LGD.
Yeah, that's one of the things where, like, you know, these 2 dragons that LGD have are really good individual dragons. The movement speed from Cloud, great. The stats from Hextech Dragon, fantastic. But if IG get 4 mountain dragons, like, that is 36% armor and MR. Like, that is a ridiculous amount. And it's just very scary. It'll be a long time away to get up to that point, but IG looking to try and extend their lead even more. They're going to throw down the Herald on the top side. And we saw LGD initially leaning for a bot side play, but they knew enemy team has Herald. We can't take this trade. They're trying to defend, but this is a tanky Herald.
It is a very tanky Herald. There's going to be a solo flare to kind of just keep everyone away. Not quite tanky enough. I really feel like he maybe could have waited till the wave had just come in there for the side of IG, but it does not matter because they get themselves 2 outer turrets, 2 second, turrets there on the top side, and it's just like our top and mid, and it's just they're just kind of running away with it right now. LGD just weren't in position to defend mid, and then that meant that the Herald could be used to push in top. It's just IG playing so well. Yeah,
again, really massive value out of the Heralds. I think that's the thing to note is the first Herald got a lot of plates on mid, got it really low, and then they end up getting that tier 2 mid, but they don't commit the Herald. They save it so they can get the tier 2 top. Just a massive acceleration of the game, and now 5,000 gold ahead, particularly with a champion like Miss Fortune who goes for these lethality items where really you're getting like a big power boost on every item. You know, we look at the crit 80 carries. Crit 80 carries are looking at 3-4 items. That's where they really start to take over. But MF, when she has this Mana Mune stacked with that Eclipse as well, her ult is going to shred. And, you know, we said it when we came out of the draft. Maybe not the best team to kind of have everyone lined up in place for the ultimate to connect, but it's not just about the ultimate. The auto damage will be there as well.
I mean, this, we talked about one and the other. We can see Mole going in for an aggressive trade. We'll get the dummy out of Haichao, so he won't have that access to him. And now you can see him just kind of run away right now as Shun pops up the Cyclone, maybe thinking about trying to get a Q on top of him, but not able to make that one land. But that means that's going to be the outer turret and bot lane going down. On is in a little bit of trouble, though, as he recognizes now with the Scryer's Orb to make sure that he doesn't get caught out, and Wing kind of comes in for a little bit of extra support. But though this time around it's LGD making plays around the map, they will be able to trade top and bot turrets, but still IG looking aggressive, looking like they're controlling the pace.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of see a flip, though, like the scenario where IG go for a play, doesn't quite work out. They don't get on a Haichao. Shun trying to use the movement speed. And then in return, LGD are trying to trade and are trading pretty positively, especially considering they're so far behind. Like, trading 1-for-1 in towers is good. And now Mole...
Ooh, he flashes. Doesn't have the Everfrost to land, but he doesn't need it as Haichao walks backwards. And now Mole with the E, trying to see if he can walk away from this one here. Does have some honey fruit to make this one work, but now we can see Zika jumping in on top of Assum. Assum in a little bit of trouble. That's a great solo flare though, right in the backside of this one here. As On gets himself a full ultimate, but the bullet time is not going to be able to save you from the incurring forces of LGD. It's all a bit scrappy. We all knew it was going to be perfectly honest, as JinJiao gets taken out in some supportal combat, and Mole still hasn't reset. Mole's still going. He has no health, no mana, and I'm going to be totally honest, nowhere to go because he's just going to be caught out by Fearness.
And a massive throw from IG, but LGD find this great opportunity. They know Mole has no ult, no flash, no mana. They were not in a position to fight without the mid laner. And IG still fall for the bait. They still go for it. And as a result, you know, I'm talking about IG 4 dragons stacked, how big that would be. LGD are the ones stacking dragons. They're about to pick up their third. And now you start to be a bit concerned because the goal lead is just closed from 5,000 to 3,000. LGD have 9% extra armor and MR, 9% attack speed, 9 ability haste, and the out of combat movement speed to help mitigate the rest. And they're close to getting soul. And you see Shun goes in here, but he has no ult, so not really posing much threat. Zika goes in here, and Assum, he actually dashes towards IG to try and dodge the third ultimate. But look at the flank that comes in on, and the MF is in no position to deal with this. And then Mole is trying to reset here, but I think Fearness ends up chasing him away. Yeah, so it doesn't get a chance to reset. But I just don't understand the thought process from IG. Trying to go for a fight they had no right taking.
Yeah, and right before the Dragons. So now all of a sudden we talked about how IG were running away with this game. We talked about how well they were playing, moving around the map, just kind of honestly out-macroing the side of LGD. But on the micro side of things, they were definitely lacking. Very, very overextended. Even the Shun Cyclone there randomly into Haichao was just so bizarre. Like, he wasn't even close to getting on top of the LeBlanc. So
I mean, I think he was trying to use it for movement speed to close the gap and then use the second charge on him. It was ambitious, but that's the thought process he was going for.
They're going aggressive here onto the Gnar. They're going to be able to try and burn out his flash and a lot more off him as well. The needlework not quite able to finish him off as JinJiao goes straight back in. I don't know if he wanted that one, and he's going to lose his ultimate. We're seeing a lot of ultimates used there as Mole pops his and gets a charm right between the middle. So after all said and done, couple of things burnt. No one really gains anything.
Yeah, I mean, the major cooldown that's taken is Fearness' flash, but, you know, I don't feel like it's that big of a deal. It's definitely, well, it's not going to be up for the next dragon fight, which is something, but it just feels like IG are trying to fish for something, trying to find these plays, and I feel like they're in a position that's a little bit uncomfortable, right? Because Assum, this Aphelios is going to be more relevant later than the Miss Fortune. You know, we have the Gnar, who's going to be a bit of a problem in the side lane. And as much as IG have strong tools in late stages of the game, the fact they've started to throw, the fact they're staring down a 3-dragon advantage for LGD, it is worrying. And so they are fishing for these plays, but not quite having the success that maybe they hope for. I think now, you know, you still have Mole on this Ahri. You can still try and find some opportunities. What's important is that when this dragon comes up, you try and get a pick beforehand. You try and set up the vision control. You don't let LGD get in. And because if you give them the soul, even if you win the fight, I feel like that's such a massive boost to LGD that it might make this game just so difficult.
Yeah, it's a permanent buff. That's the whole point, really, at this point, is that you get so much just from stacking those dragons and being proactive around that dragon pit. So, or Dragon's Den, as Dagda likes to call it. But sorry, he said that to me once, and I've always wanted to try and keep it as Baron Pit and Dragon's Den to differentiate. But it's really hard to break habits like that, because I've called it the Dragon's Pit for absolutely years. It's always a pit. It's never anything else. Why is it not a crevice? I don't know. It doesn't really look like a pit. It's more just like it just has cliffs, you know?
Yeah, you know, I've never really thought about that before today.
This is what I do.
I feel like after I finish this sentence, I'll never think about it again. So
thanks, man. I'm glad you're always there to like back me up and, you know, help me feel better about these different.
Of course. I mean, if this is what you're really on, Machine, then don't let me stop you, right? If you want to wonder about this in your free time, why is it called Dragon Pit? Then you're welcome to do so. Don't let me stop you.
I won't. If anything, you encourage me. That's the beauty of our friendship and our working relationship. You inspire me to go further and further on. But anyway, coming back into the game, we'll talk about the Dragon's Den in a minute 20 as
the what?
Oh Lord, it's already starting to get silly. It's already starting to fall apart. But now we're gonna see IG hovering and gaining control around this Baron pit. They're trying to make sure that they have full control around the area, so that if LGD decide to go for a trade, which at the end of the day, LGD have 3 dragons, IG don't, so IG don't have a choice about whether or not they got to be around the dragon side of the map, because they have to make sure that they don't give up a soul.
Yeah, so they make sure they have some vision in the area, which is really important, because they don't want LGD just to start rushing it and then have to beeline over. But they obviously, their focus is towards the dragon. So LGD, they decide to clear out the vision in the Baron area to make things a little bit more difficult for IG, make them wonder. Now, obviously LGD, if they can get Assum into the pit, he does decent Baron DPS, but I still think it's a bit too slow for Baron, especially with how mobile IG is. I don't think they're going to start it up, but they at least want to pose the threat and then maybe find a moment like this. Oh no.
Ooh, that's unfortunate there for the side of LGD, and that's going to mean an immediate start of this dragon, you would imagine, coming out from the side of IG. They could just take that one for free. And yeah, LGD, they could have maybe looked for a big fight. You can see Fearness looking to try and stack up his Gnar, but just not in the position to make it work.
And I feel like this is why Sweeper is so broken on champions when you're trying to make a pick, because it gives you the vision advantage, right? If you place a ward down there, then, you know, Vi knows that they've been spotted, right? It's kind of both sides are aware, but because of the Sweeper, it shows them up, but it doesn't give the information to the other side. Mole knew that they were trying to set a trap for him and is able to make the play, able to find the charm. Fantastic performance. And now they get that mountain dragon, they deny the soul, buy themselves a bit more time, and start to feel the benefit of those extra resistances. And I mean, already you have Ninja Tabby on the Miss Fortune, Banshees on the Mole, obviously a bunch of tanky stats on everyone else, so immediate value gain from that.
Huge setup there for the side of IG, and just a very unfortunate time for LGD, and it's those little mistakes that will get capitalized upon as we look at the replay here. It's just, yeah, he doesn't really have any support, and they don't see him. It's just great fog of war movement here from IG.
Yeah, and I think at this point he kind of realizes too late. Doesn't actually have the flash, so you're relying on charging up the Q. And I mean, honest, I'm gonna be real. Even if you did manage to charge up the Q, it's an Ahri, right? I feel like you can get chased down, so easily. So just wrong place, wrong time, and now, you know, IG still have that gold lead. They were a long way away from ever getting soul. So I think looking for a pick again could be huge, but it looks like LGD have similar ideas. And I feel like both teams have so much potential to just find a target and decimate them. And so you have to be really cautious where you are walking, where you are setting up, because there is so much lockdown.
Yeah, you can't just walk in. Look, the Ahri doesn't have the most extreme damage right now, sitting on a Banshees and an Everfrost, but in terms of lockdown, specifically single target lockdown, you are going to have to respect that. And now we got to wait another 3 minutes 30 before that next soul opportunity becomes available for LGD, and that just gives more time for, I will say, a couple of items to come through, but I will say you're dealing with a lethality Miss Fortune. Yes, does do damage to squishies, but when we're talking about the hyper scaling AD carries, not someone I definitely put in that kind of categories. Now we're going to see Wink going aggressive here onto JinJiao, who still has his Unbreakable, finally does pop it, as we can see now Zika trying to jump onto Assum, who's been completely isolated. Mole's been taken out, but it's a trade of 1 for 1. Now we can see that side of LGD have finally found their fight. It's a 2v2. Both AD carries and both mid laners are dead, which means we're going to have the support, the tops and the junglers going back at this one. Chun goes in, goes golden, as Wink's just kind of hovering off to the side. He's thinking about coming into this, but Zika's kind of taken over right now, Aux, as Fearness does get the champ down, but not quite able to get himself away. You can see JinJiao wants to run away. He wants to survive, but you're going straight to the slaughterhouse, my friend. Monkeys are better than cows, according to the side of IG. No, they're not. Towers are, and that's just going to be IG eventually taking a fight, but it was very close.
Yeah, and it's nice that JinJiao stole that out. As much as it does mean he's going to be dead for a while, it means IG has no ability to move over to the Baron immediately. We should see Vi be able to reset and get back on the map. Now, I mean, this fight was just messy, and this is part of the problem with the Miss Fortune, because we actually see An waiting for a good opportunity to ult, and what happens is we get this knockup from Shun that comes in a second, and it's like, great, this is my ult chance, and then immediately everyone moves out of the ultimate, and then he just gets run down, and like, the lethality MF can't kill these tanks. Like, he can do damage, but you're not going to be able to get all the way through them, and you just hunt it down. And now they have actually started the Baron, but we do see the contest to be there in time.
Oh, is it going to be contested, though? Is they get themselves
great
charm
charm
over the wall? The exhaust as well, and Mole gets everything done that IG needed him to do. And not only do you get the Baron, but that gives you such great pushing power to set up for this dragon in a minute 30.
Yeah, fantastic. You get the extra stats as well, so massive bonuses. And I just feel like as much as we saw the reset come in, JinJiao bought enough time that his team was going to be able to get there to contest. It didn't matter. IG control, and Mole once again playing this fantastically, stops the jungler from getting into the pit. And now it's a minute until that dragon. You have Baron in hand. You've got some big spikes, right? We have Shadow Flame for Zika. We have Mole finishing off the Void Staff as well. They're in prime position to challenge for a fight here.
This is just slowly running away from LGD. They're not being proactive, and you can see they're trying to set that up, set right by that as they move down towards that bot side, but it's against an Ahri. The Ahri's going to be very easily just walking away from this one here. Zika, though, walks forward with no immunity. The solo player just completely whiffs. They have got the bullet time, but it's only really onto JinJiao, but the Cyclone is good. That's going to be the jungler dead now for this next fight in 40 seconds. We can see the dragon spawning, but the fight's going to keep going. JinJiao has still been keeping alive as Fearness looks to try and take down the Miss Fortune, and maybe even Mole. The charm misses, and Fearness goes golden to keep himself alive. JinJiao is there as well. Fearness is unafraid, as just his name suggests, and it's going to be LGD taking themselves a 4 for 2.
Matt, Fearness just broke their ankles. And I mean, they lost the Gwen. The Gwen is your late game DPS. And the extended fights we saw in the previous one, it was Zika alive at the end who chased all of LGD away. And here, critical error, but a fantastic setup from LGD. They see Zika waste the Shroud, ends up putting him in a vulnerable position, and they're able just to burst him out and clean up the rest of the fight. No one is able to kill Fearness, and they get the Soul's reward. Watch this. So Shroud wasted for some trade, but that just means you're vulnerable now, and this is a full glass cannon Gwen. Just gets bursted out, but I feel like the main thing I want to track here is Fearness later in the fight, what he's able to do, because at first the momentum goes in favor of IG, a good charm comes out, they focus on the Alistar, but Fearness just makes a beeline towards the backline of IG, and the damage just isn't there. Dodges away from the Orb of Deception, finishes off on, and then here, dodges away on the charm as well. Just so well played in the stopwatch at the end to buy time for Mega so he doesn't go down. Just fantastic play from the Gnar there.
And that's not only just the fight going LGD's way, but they also get themselves the dragons. That is Mountain Soul here. As you can see, so much damage coming out there from Fearness. But now Fearness, the man who carried the last fight, shall be carried back in a body bag as he's going to end up getting hit by the Solar Flare, the Zenith Blade, and that's going to be a kill going over to the side of IG. Now, can they convert it into anything more meaningful? As don't forget, they had the Baron during that play, that last play, so they actually only have a couple of seconds left on it.
Yeah, they've gotten the Baron play to minus, plus 12, plus 30.
There we go. They're getting there. They're getting there.
Positive again. They will get a big chunk. We'll see if that comes in on the Baron power play. Doesn't just in time, but they get a bit of chunk of gold there. Now with the Gnar down, it definitely gives them a lot more strength, but the Baron gone, it's easy wave clear, and we're in a position where suddenly things get more difficult because, you know, you have those extra resists, 18% armor and MR. Remember, with the durability changes, everyone has a lot more armor and MR when we get the late game, but also these shields. Like, you look at Assum with the Bloodthirster, with the Mountain Shield. He is not really an AD carry anymore. He's an AD bruiser at this point with how much extra bulkiness he gains. And a lot of the things from IG, like Mole doesn't have like fantastic damage, right, with his build. He's very much about the lockdown, about a bit of burst, but not enough to like burn all the way through Assum. So if they ever do end up losing Zika again in a fight, if they end up in a situation where they can't finish off Assum, he's just going to heal back up.
I do like the Serpent's Fangs coming out here for, or Serpent's Fang coming out here for the Miss Fortune on, but again, it's not ideal, to be perfectly honest. It is a you are a lethality Miss Fortune, and with the extra resistances being given to everybody, you're just not that effective. You're not going to have that one-shot potential. We can even see it there. A full bullet time into JinJiao brings him down to about half-ish of his health bar. It's not exactly a 100 to 0 like we're used to seeing, so not the most ideal of situations here for the side of IG, but it's not over just yet. You still have options available to you. You can still find picks off, and again, the Gwen is still massive. I love the idea of going for the Shadow Flame. I love the idea that the IG are adapting their builds to what is in front of them.
I mean, to be honest, I feel like the Shadow Flame was kind of just what you go on Gwen now for the flat pen. Like, I feel like that's kind of like, you know, this is just, like, you know, that item was coming out anyway.
True, but sometimes we see the third Rabadons, you know. Sometimes we've seen a lot more Rabadons kind of rushes, I suppose, from Gwen's.
Yeah, you know, it's here or there. I feel like the Serpent's Fang is definitely an adaptation, which I really like in this situation because you are going to get that value from it. across the board, especially against Assum, because triggering that shield could make all the difference. And it's so easy to apply as on, because you can apply it with your Make It Rain. You don't have to commit to an ultimate. And that, as we said in the laning phase, that's an ability that's just like impossible to avoid, impossible for On not to hit as long as he's in range. And now IG feeling a little bit more confident. They still have a gold lead, they still have an item advantage, but there's the soul, the extra stats on the dragon definitely doing a lot to mitigate that. But for now, they are setting up in that Baron area, and last Baron they got from getting a pick, they may well fish for something similar now. HiChao places down a control wall, but it will get quickly swept out.
Yeah, they're just clearing out the vision. If you're wondering, with the Serpent's Fang, what does it do? What it does is it just reduces the effectiveness of shields. 50% if you're melee, 35% if you are ranged. So obviously it's going to be on the Miss Fortune. So 35% of that shielding shall no longer be there. And it's little things like that that can be procced with the Make It Rain and stuff. But there's a nice little sneaky ward here just at the side of Baron where they know there's no real vision. So they know that they're not actually going for this as IG. As HiChao just burning the Banshees there for the side of Mole, making sure that he's in a position. Honestly, LGD might have found the inside track. They can just run up mid. They can get themselves so much, but IG need to make a call. They're turning back for the Baron.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to get a tower maybe out of this in the case of LGD, but they still would have responded to the Baron. IG turn off.
Here we go. They're going to jump on the JinJiao. JinJiao is a bit of a meat bag right now, so he's got a lot of HP. You can see On trying to run away, but everyone's just jumping on his face right now. Goes golden, keeps himself alive. There's the bullet time, but Fearness knocks him right back. Mole flashes away and keeps himself alive. The GA has been popped. How are the side of IG not dying just yet? They're still going, but eventually they'll fall. LGD are just too damn strong, and it looks like we're just delaying the inevitable. It's going to be LGD's game in this game one.
And it just looks like Zika can't do enough, and On doesn't get to play the game. This is the issue with the misfortunate situation. Oh, the minions, I think, actually finishing off there. But LGD get enough of a lead in this fight. They don't have to do the Baron. They don't have to do the Elder. It's only the Leona to defend for 30 seconds. They're going to push to the end. Wink, you have to try and clear the minion wave, but there is just too many. There's another one on the way. Stalling for time is the aim of the game.
Yeah, stalling for time is going to be the aim here for Wink, but he's actually doing a fairly decent job of it, in fairness to him. He's 1v3ing and almost takes down the Vi, and that's actually going to be enough because they have to turn back for the Baron.
Yeah, I mean, that's enough. You know, as much as the time is 30 seconds, maybe the wave was right there and there was a Leona causing interruption, but time is bought. Baron is going to get started up by LGD, but this is risky. Look at the health of Koi here. He has to reset after this. And get to the Elder. So, yeah. I mean, we're going to replay, but a lot's still going to be going on. And in this situation, I just want you to track on the Miss Fortune. So, immediately ulted here by the Vi. And then HiChao also leaps over and chunks him out, right? And then we quickly have to see On looking for a Miss Fortune ultimate, and it's just like instantly cancelled. Still does a little bit of damage, but it just feels like this Miss Fortune's not able to play the game. And then the Alistar combo to round it out. It's been a struggle for IG, but now setting up for the Elder.
Speaking of the Alistar, he's on the flank, and he's going to trying to jump onto On right now. You can see there's the bullet time. It's not really hitting anyone. Assum takes down Zika. Mole is dead as well. They're going to try and take him out, but he's got a GA, so he'll be K. And that's going to be 4 dead on the side of IG. LGD in 38 minutes, probably about 30 more seconds before they get themselves up to the base, will be able to take this game.
And IG, despite the massive gold lead, you know, they have an AD carry who just wasn't able to function in the later fight. Wink is, again, the last one alive, trying to stall out, but there is nothing you can do here. And they just didn't have the damage to kill Assum. You actually saw there what I was talking about. You get a full R3 from Zika that came down onto the Aphelios, and it just wasn't enough to kill him. So he survives, he gets some sustain up from the Bloodthirster and is able to turn it around. And LGD, a rough start to the game, but the Dragons came through and they managed to find the team fights in the end and take themselves to a 1-0 in the series.
Yeah, really, really well done there by LGD. Kept themselves solid. It looked like it was just going to be IG running away with it, to be perfectly honest. It looked like it was going to be IG just constantly putting down the pressure, but great plays coming out from LGD and just great fights, to be perfectly honest. And the easier to execute composition became such a benefit towards them because it was just a difference of On couldn't really play, Mole doesn't have the damage, and HiChao and Assum were just bigger threats.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Gwen had to do so much there. Which is why the fight where she died at the start was really rough. But then also the final fight, like, nearly, and it was so close, and it was literally the Mountain Soul difference, right?
Yeah.
If they didn't have Mountain Soul, Gwen would have killed Assum. He did have GA, right? You know, and there was definitely other factors in that fight. I'm not saying they would have won the fight of that, but it just definitely made it harder. And I think the Miss Fortune, the lane made sense compositionally it didn't. Like, you're not going to work well into. It's so hard to actually find a good ultimate. Like, everyone knows that sort of, the like clash comp you think of, like the wombo combo where you have like a Jarvan, Orianna, Leona, Miss Fortune, Malphite. And then the enemy team, for some reason, picks 5 immobile champions, which is such a rarity because you never actually see that in League anymore because all the new broken fun champions of mobility. But either way, like that sort of scenario, you can see MF absolutely popping off. But here, it felt so hard, not only for Arn to get an ult off that was going to hit multiple people who Arn wanted to hit, like hitting the Alistar and ult is whatever, but also actually being able to channel it. I feel like the ult was never fully channeled, or if it was fully channeled, it's because everyone had left it. It really felt rough there.
Yeah, it has felt like a little bit of an unfortunate one. I will say this is the second time we have seen IG play the Miss Fortune. It was played by Wink earlier on the split, but it was a loss against an Aphelios as well. So, yeah, it just feels like it just didn't really work out with what they wanted to try and do. And again, just easier to execute composition came out from the side of LGD. Look at that goal grab. Like, it's so in IG's control, and then it just walks away because, yes, On does a lot of damage, but it's not relevant because of the Mountain Soul.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, On did a lot of damage. It just felt like in the fights, right? In the fights, wasn't able to find the ability to cut through the tankier members. And you look at Fearness on this Gnar, was able to just run amok. This champion just able to charge people down, pick them apart. And yeah, IG struggling in that regard. It was a strong early game, and that's almost why it feels more frustrating. And this feels like a running theme with IG. We have seen IG have strong early games against some of our top teams, in all honesty. But winning the game recently. Winning the game, that's another conversation. And I think IG, they know how to play out the early game. They know how to get leads. Shun and Mole do a fantastic job. But, I mean, there's two sides to it. One, could they have picked a composition that gave them more strength in the late game? Sure, absolutely. But also, they made the misplays. And in fairness, LGD capitalized on them. They pounced. They were there to pick it up. But, when you have that much of a gold lead, I really feel like the game should be a done thing, especially when they were finding those picks onto the Vi, but just let it slip too many times around the dragon.
Yeah, really, really did. We'll see if they're able to bounce back or if LGD will be taking the 2-0 on that coveted 13th position in the league. We are going to set it to a break, and when we return,